Across the Flow broadcast regions, we head now to Horsham District Football and the Jeparit Rainbow Storm report. The great man out of Rainbow, Peter Weir, is with us now. And g'day, Peter. How you going?
Yeah, very well, thanks, Wayne. But sitting here, it's quite hard to believe that footy season's upon us. I think maybe the late harvest and the short month of February and, a few training runs in March, and all of a sudden it's time to pull the boots back on.
They told me that you only pulled the boots on Thursday night at your first training in preparation for the big clash this weekend.
Yeah, unfortunately I'll miss out this weekend, Flowman. As you touched on, I left my pre-season run a little bit too late, and just with the older body now, I think I need at least a couple of weeks of running around to get myself ready for a full game. But yeah, the boys will take on Eden Hope on Saturday.
They will. Now, in the off-season, a lot of things happen now. I thought that you were so busy on the farm that you weren't having time to go chasing the ladies, but am I led to believe that something magnificent has happened?
Yeah, any excuse to get out of pre-season training, Wayne. But yeah, myself and Gabby got engaged last month, so that was a highlight of the off-season for myself.
I reckon a highlight for Gabby too, and for her family and for your family too, and exciting stuff. Congratulations to you from everyone here, but also just see whether it improves your footy, mate. That's the big test of these engagements.
Yeah, I thought that's why I better have one more year to prove that, once upon a time I might have been okay at footy.
Lovely stuff. All right, we'll come back to Jeparit Rainbow and your side. We've got Narrajah Quantong taking on Laharam. Laharam improved a bit last year. Narrajah dropped off the pace after their previous season, making a grand final. How do you see the Bomber boys and the Red and Blue?
Well, I think the Bombers haven't recruited too much, but they haven't really needed to because they do have that strong list. I think they did get cut down a little bit by injury, Flowman, so they'll bounce back. And I think Laharam, likewise, have only added a couple, but as we know, they've had 4 or 5 years of really good junior sides out there, so those boys should all be 20, 21 now and ready to have an impact on the competition.
Swifts play Conively or at North Park. It's the longest road trip. How about this for the programmers? They probably thought everyone's been waiting so long. The boys from the Conively Cougars, well, they can start driving today and they'll get there in time for tomorrow for their big clash over at North Park against the Swifts.
Yeah, I had the exact same thought, Flowman. I thought when the draw come out, Conively would have been happy to play anyone apart from Stall at Stall, but that's what they got. And the Stall boys, as we know, always hard to beat on their home deck. And an interesting one for local people is Philip Henslight, who used to be a local school teacher at Rainbow. He's taking a coaching job at Conively, so that's an interesting one to look out for the Rainbow people when we come up against Conively.
It certainly will be. Go the Cougars. Have they been able to get enough recruits to improve their position from last year? I'll tell you who has recruited, and that is the Pimpernio Tigers. They take on Taylors Lake, and at Pimpernio, Big Reece McNally gets over there from out of the North Central Footy League. He has played up in the Sunraysia too, I think, and I reckon he might have been with the Giants at some point in time. So this is a big get for the coach, Clint Burdett.
Yeah, I definitely reckon he'll be a great ruckman because, as you can imagine, Clint would know a bit about ruckman. So for him to choose him, I'd say he'll be really handy with his tap work, and a small oval like Pimpernio. If he can win the ball out of the middle, he could soon have a quick impact on their scoreboard. So he'll be a great recruit for Pimp. But if you look at the Taylors Lake recruits too, they've got Kyle Pinto coaching them and a couple of ex-VFL footballers added to their list, and Justin Bugler, who played some good footy at Dimboola. So watch for Taylors Lake to probably win more games than they lose this year, Flowman.
Ooh, that's a big call early from the big Weary, but he'll know about this side. The Kalkee boys, they come out these keys every year. They play Harrow Balmoral at Kalkee. And how are the sheep farmers going to go down at Harrow Balmoral against the wheat farmers at the Keys?
Yeah, I think Kalkee every year play good, consistent footy and team-orientated footy, and it stacks up in finals, as we saw last year. They probably had nowhere near the best list and probably in the end should have won that grand final. So we know the Kalkee boys, no matter who's on the list, will be there at the pointy end. And similar to Harrow, I think they've added Jai Thompson, who's been a decorated footballer in Geelong, and they're already a well-oiled machine there after a few years under Nick Pekin, so he'll just step in and have his influence. But yeah, watch for both of those teams to push into the finals again this year.
Nadimak struggled last year. The Sheep Paddocks, they get their showgrounds home deck and they play the top side, Rapanyup, who took all before them in 2022 to take their first flag in 21 years. Can anybody stop Rupp?
Well, I think they've had a bit of a changeover of players. I think with the Darwin boys coming down, it's always going to be hard to keep those sort of players long term, but they obviously had a great influence on the club, and Rupp have worked really hard to get themselves up the top of the end of the ladder there, and I can't see them wanting to drop off too quickly, and I don't think they will. And yeah, Natty Muck are going to be wanting to get back into the finals, and I think they've added a pretty handy ruckman to help them do that.
Beautiful stuff. All right, let's go to Edenhope Apsley, your opponent at the first game down at Edenhope. Hard road trip for the Rainbow folk, the longest one for you in the business, and you get this Saints group, and they've regrouped too.
Yeah, they have. Tim McIntyre's taken the coaching reins there, and he's a great player. He pretty much single-handedly nearly won him the final last year and would have won him a lot of games off his own boot, and teaming up with his brother. They're a pretty dynamic duo, and they've added Jack Ryan back into the team this year, who I reckon in his last year in the District League won a league medal. So obviously he has a big influence in the ruck form, and will want to get him off to a good start on Saturday.
All right, getting off to a good start, the Jeparit Rainbow Storm, you've seniors side, you've made some changes.
Yeah, just with natural player changes. Shane Maslin and Brad Hunter are staying in Adelaide this year, but they couldn't have been any better for the club over a 5 or 6 year period. Jake Herwood, as we know, Flowman, was a terrific recruit for us. He's going and plays footy up in Cairns, and he'll be a great addition to the Cairns team, and Clancy Breen and Lockie Doon. So I feel the Geelong boys won't be coming back this year, but we have recruited 4 out of the Northern Territory, thanks to Tommy Long, a few connections up there, and they're a mixture of outside players and also a good centre-half back, and then a couple of other lads are coming up from Geelong who are quite quick wingmen and flanky-type players. So I think, early in the season it'll take a little bit to settle in, but, Scotty Driscoll in charge now will soon show the way of how he wants the team to play, and I can't see why after a few weeks we won't settle into another pretty good season.
All right, now, thanks to the Bow Bakery in both Rainbow and Hopetoun, how are the twos looking now, Big Weary? Because, they have to get the great man to play his 1,000th game.
I think Rock might not be playing this year, Flowman, if that's who you're referring to, but he's the only bloke I could think of who's up around that territory in games. But no, look, this week we're going to struggle a little bit for numbers because just unfortunately the way things have turned out across the club, there's probably 9 or 10 blokes unavailable. So the twos will struggle this year, this week, but a bit like the senior grade, give a few weeks and people to get back into the swing of footy season, and the twos will put some competitive sides on the park. Okay,
how do they look at the 17-year-old level? We've seen in the last couple of seasons some really good signs out of your juniors in the Storm outfit. So how are they looking this year?
Yeah, it gets really exciting with the under-17s, Flowman. It's great to see a lot of these boys, the 14, 15-year-olds, have contributed a lot to pre-season training, and you can just see that growth and strength coming into their game. And there's 4 or 5 genuine senior footballers coming through the ranks, and I can't see why they won't have a really, really great under-17 season this year. And Tommy Long has gone up from the under-14 coach now following the development into the under-17 role. So the boys have got a great relationship with the coach and they really play for him. And, exciting times in the under-17 group.
Oh, looking forward to calling their names out week by week in that age profile. What about the 14s? How are you going with the kids? Have you got good numbers? There seems to be, right now we're hearing a lot of babies being born, but were there enough being born 8 or 9 years ago?
Yeah, look, the under-14s are great excitement around them as well, and some great numbers. And Nathan Cox, who's a returning senior player, has a great rapport with the young fellas, Flowman, and he'll lead the under-14s. And then just dropping down to that next level, the Oz Kickers, I saw, great numbers for the Oz Kickers also, and a great club legend in Heath Plugger Clugson's in charge of those boys, so you couldn't ask for a better leader of the Oz Kickers coming through the grades. Oh,
beautiful stuff. All right, we've got a big weekend, and it's going to be down there at Edenhope Apsley at Edenhope Sports Ground. Can you beat them?
Oh, I think we can, Flowman. It's so hard to know. There's a lot of unknowns for both sides. I know Matty Butler's no longer at the Edenhope team, and that's, 4 to 6 goals probably every week. And just as you thought you're on top of Edenhope, he could come out and win the game for them. So they'll lose him as a match winner. But, and conditions will be depending as well. I think it's been a beautiful week of weather up here, but the forecast is for rain. But that'll suit both teams as well. So it's hard to know, Flowman, but you got to back your own team, and let's hope Jeparit Rainbow are singing the song at the end of the day.
All right, good stuff. Hope, Philly, you're back with some fitness under your belt. I did hear that you were doing some laps of the swimming pool, but they weren't real laps. They were just flopping in there after a hard day's harvest, is what I've been told.
I'd say you've got a pretty good spy there, Flowman, because that sounds pretty accurate.
The old tennis arm got a bit of a workout, but I think it was the other arm that got bent a little bit more often. So, Big Weary, we shall see you next week.
No worries, Wayne. Thank you.